Welcome to the last safe city on Earth. The only place the Traveler can still protect. It took centuries to build. Now, we're counting every day it stands. And this tower is where the Guardians live.
What is up, my Squirtleites? It is I, your king, welcoming you back to more Let's Play Destiny. Here we are. We have made it to the tower. This is the primary hub space, social space for all of Destiny. This is where the Guardians live. This is your home. This is it right here. And we are going to be spending a lot of the video in the tower, but no, we are not going to be spending the whole video here. We are going to be getting on into the second mission in this video, but I want to give you guys a brief tour. We are going to come back here a couple times in this Let's Play, but we're not going to spend a lot of time in it. I'm going to mostly be cutting those sections out. But I do want to talk about the tower because there is a lot of story elements and there is a lot of history here. So, this is the tower. There are actually multiples of these scattered all throughout, well, I guess all around the last city on Earth. These are basically lookout points around the wall that protects the city. This wall was built by Guardians to, well, again, protect everyone here. Down there in the city is where all of the innocent civilians live, and the Guardians reside in the towers. That, as the ghost said before, is the Traveler. Now, we're going to talk about the Traveler more at a later time, but all you need to know at the moment is that the Traveler is a machine god. It is part machine, it is part some other entity. We don't know exactly what, possibly several entities, and it gives us light. This light is what, or this, I guess what you could call light, you can also call it, you know, in some form like a soul or a spirit, is what enables our ghost to be, well, to exist. And our ghost, in turn, is able to transfer light to us, which we are, honestly, effectively a zombie. We are dead. Or at least were dead until we were given light and brought back to life. And we use the light to wield our abilities. That is how Guardians are created. Every Guardian is, well, technically a fallen soldier brought back to life with light, and now uses that light to fight against the enemies of the Traveler, which is also known as the Darkness. And the Fallen are one of those. We are going to head over here first thing because I do want to give you a brief tour of everything. So, over here we have Eva Levante. Eva Levante is not a Guardian, at least not, we don't think she is. Actually, I'm pretty sure she's not. But she is, well, we'll call her the mom of the tower. She is the one who provides all these little goodies to make you, basically quality of life things, such as emblems and shaders to make you look prettier and whatnot. Little ornaments to make your guns look prettier and your armor look prettier, all that stuff. She is just kind of the mother figure of the entire tower. Over here, near this big contraption, we have the Speaker. The Speaker is another very unknown entity that we do not know much about, but he is essentially what you would call a prophet, a seer, a soothsayer for the Traveler. He is the only one who is able to speak for it, and through it, what he is appointed by, well, honestly, we don't know. We don't really know all the politics of that just yet, but we do know that, well, not everybody agrees with him. And again, we'll get into that more at a later time. Speaking of people that don't really agree with the Speaker, but not completely against him, obviously, or they wouldn't be allowed here, is New Monarchy. New Monarchy is one of the three major factions in the Destiny universe that live here within the city. All of the three major factions have different ideals. And we'll be getting into their ideals at a later time, but New Monarchy is one of them. And their ideals are kind of cemented within their name. The New Monarchy, their entire ideal is that a kind of a totalitarian government needs to be established. Something, a much more powerful government as a result needs to be established in order to keep the people of the city safe. Something very strong and forceful that isn't all about religion, but more about force. That is New Monarchy's goal, and is the goal that they are trying to recruit Guardians and other people to. That is their cause. Okay. Before we head to the underneath the tower, which is actually really the main hub, as we head past, we also have the Postmaster here, which is a frame. That is what all these robots are known as, is frames. They do various work around the towers, such as the Postmaster job. They sweep up all sorts of stuff. You'll see them all over the place around here. This is Tess Everest. She has lore, but it's really not worth going into because she's really just the glorified microtransaction shop in this game. It's not really worth talking about. We'll skip that. But we do have an important character over here, Master Rahul. He is a Cryptarch. Now, a Cryptarch is effectively a scholar, somebody who is basically devoted their life to learning, to just to wisdom and knowledge and all sorts of things like that. He has access to the databanks and libraries of, basically everything that the Last City has. And his in-game purpose is to decode what we call engrams, and we'll get into those later. But that is his role as a character. And then we have the Banshee 44. He is the gunsmith. I'm going to talk to him because I want to grab a better weapon really fast. Oh, you know what? He's actually not going to give it to me, not yet. You know, that's fine. That is fine. We'll worry about that later, because I actually want to get over to this side of the tower real fast. But we'll talk to the gunsmith in this video. Don't you worry. I just want to finish my tour. So, as we get to this end of the tower, and yes, please go away, little tooltip. We get to this end of the tower. Over here, we have Dead Orbit, which is another of the three factions. Dead Orbit is essentially the antithesis of New Monarchy. Their basically whole ideal, their entire goal... And oh my goodness. Okay, yes, I got it. Thank you. Their entire goal is basically, we need to leave Earth. We can't be here. Earth is not safe. Earth is overrun by Fallen. It is not a good place to be, and we need to pack up and we need to leave. Okay, that is what Dead Orbit is all about, and that is their cause. If you think that is the good thing, well, then you're probably going to want to sign up with Dead Orbit, or just because their armor and weapons look cool. Either or. Then we have the Vanguard Quartermaster, who is another frame that is all about selling Vanguard-related weapons. And also is good for materials and whatnot. That is what they do. That's basically all they are, is just a vendor. But they do represent the Vanguard, because the Vanguard is technically a faction of its own. And they are really the main faction of this game. And the last faction I want you to meet is Future War Cult. Now, Future War Cult is a bit of a unique entity. They are not in any way like New Monarchy and Dead Orbit. Those two factions kind of go against each other very specifically, and their ideals basically clash with one another. Future War Cult is nothing like that. Future War Cult, they kind of want to, I guess you could call them the hippies of the Destiny universe in a sense, as is evident by the incense going on here. They kind of are, though, because their entire purpose is to look to the future, is to look to controlling time in a sense. There is, and we'll get into more of that at another point, but there is technology, and a lot of technology in Destiny that revolves around time, and the Future War Cult wants to harness that in an effort to alter time and save our the human race and Awoken and Exos in that way. They want to save our planet in that way by manipulating time. So last but certainly not least is the Vanguard, and they are all down here at the bottom end of the tower. We're going to want to talk to all of them. And I am not going to talk about this person quite yet. We're going to save them for a later point. So first of all, we have Lord Shaxx over here. Lord Shaxx runs the Crucible. The Crucible is the PvP environment in this game, but lore-wise, the Crucible is technically a place where Guardians train in... they're basically training in spaces covered with light, so they, no matter how much they die, they can be brought back to life. And they are training for their eventual battles out there in the world against the darkness. And that is a very important ideal that Lord Shaxx believes in, because there is no harsher environment than when the Guardians are going at each other's throats, considering how powerful they are. And then we have the Vanguard representatives themselves. Ikora Rey, Cade 6, and Commander Zavala. Commander Zavala is technically the head of the Vanguard. He basically leads the entire operation here at the tower. He is in charge of all of the Guardians. He is in charge of the defenses of the last safe city on Earth, and he is very proud of that fact, as is evidenced by much of his dialogue throughout the game. That is his entire purpose. Ikora Rey is a bit different. She is a bit more of a scholar. She is a lot more about learning, as is evidenced by all of the books around her and stuff like that. That's what she cares about. She wants to use knowledge to save the city, and because that's the Vanguard's purpose. They are to protect the city. And Ikora believes that by using the Traveler and by learning, that is the best way we can do it. Cayde 6 is kind of the oddball of the group. Well, they're all oddballs in their own way, but Cayde 6 is definitely not what you would think of based on the Vanguard's ideologies. He is a bit more of a rebel. He is a bit more of a fighter on his own terms, but at the same time, yes, he is out to protect the city, even if he does kind of have a lone wolf mentality to it, which I think in turn kind of keeps these other two in check in their own way, as much as they keep him in check. So that is the Vanguard. Very interesting. They represent the Titan, the Warlock, and the Hunter. And then last, but, well, actually I would almost say least, is Archon, who is the Crucible frame, and he sells Crucible weapons. So that is all of the important characters, barring one, in the tower. And that is all I'm going to be talking about in this particular video, because we have a mission to get going on to.
There's so little left out here. We were lucky to even find this ship. A Guardian can't do much to protect the city without one. But it needs a warp drive if we ever hope to fight beyond Earth. And that Cosmodrome is the only place I know where we might still find one. We survived the Fallen once. We can do it again.
Okay, so let's begin our next mission, and I've already changed ships because upon starting this file I was given all sorts of little goodies, and I decided to change ships, and well, that's really all there is to it. But yes, as you can see, I have a different weapon in tow. After talking to everybody around the tower, I was actually given enough experience to reach level 3, which allowed me to get what is technically the double jump for the Warlock, which allows me to basically float like this. This is what the Warlocks do. Hunters have a standard double jump, and Titans, well, have what he has right there, actually, which is similar, but a little bit more of a momentum-based Goliath than the Warlock. Ours is more of a float. Theirs is more of a catapult. So I grabbed the scout rifle. I was given the option between a scout rifle, a pulse rifle, a hand cannon, or an auto rifle. Those are the 4 main primary types of Destiny. Scout rifles are more long-range, consistent, I would say mid-impact damage. They can't obviously do high-impact damage, but they are much more about long-range damage and very consistent damage. Basically all of the weapon types in the game, scout rifles are definitely the most balanced and most consistent. No matter where you're playing, scout rifles have just kind of always had that reputation of being very consistent, and they've always been my favorite as such. Probably the most popular of the 4 would be hand cannons, which are very slow, but very rewarding. High risk, high reward kind of a thing. They have the slowest rate of fire of the 4 types, but pack the biggest punch, and again, have the lowest range. Pulse rifles are more mid-range. They are only bested by scouts at range and do more quick burst damage, which can be pretty consistent as long as you can control the recoil. Auto rifles are more mid to close range, a little bit further out than hand cannons, but not by much. And they are more for consistent damage, but not really necessarily high damage in any instance. So, all different types of weapons. They are all about your different kinds of preferences. Ooh, there's a dead ghost right here, and I'm going to revive that. Thank you. And yeah, that's it. Those are the 4 primary types of Destiny, and we will be getting into the special weapon types soon enough, as soon as I collect another one, hopefully. I'd like to actually be able to show how all of those work, but as you can see right now, we have a shotgun, which is definitely my favorite of the... Well, actually, I don't know if I'd say definitely my favorite, but... It's a fun one to use, and that was a terrible slide. But yes, so let's deploy our ghost here, and thus is another one of the big criticisms of Destiny 1. Much of the early game was very much considered, you know, run around, shoot things, have ghost scan things, shoot more things, and that was it. That was your mission. And that's a very fair criticism to make. I think that is a very valid criticism that Destiny 1 definitely suffered from it in the vanilla, and to a much lesser extent at later points in the game, but it had problems similar to it nonetheless. Should kill these things. There we go. It definitely had problems of the sort. And to explain that, I'd have to kind of talk about Destiny's history as a game and the way it was developed, because it does make sense, and although I don't think Bungie is absolutely, you know, can be excused from most of it, if you hear the story, you'd kind of understand why. So, Destiny was kind of always meant to go in the direction it did go in. It was supposed to be, and I'll take those, it was supposed to be a bit of a looter shooter. It was supposed to be this big, open, online, always connected kind of universe. But the problem was the story. The story was, well, it was designed by, and I can't actually remember his name. Well, all I'll say is that the writer of the core writer, the lead writer of Destiny's story, no longer works at Bungie. In fact, he left Bungie before the completion of Destiny. It was about a year before the completion of Destiny. And the problem was he didn't finish the story either. He kind of left Bungie with these tattered remnants of a story. It's in the walls. But part of the reason he left was because Bungie didn't like his story, which is understandable. He had written all of this, and Bungie was like, nah, we don't like that. So he kind of just was like, all right. So he just left this, like you could just say he left his book open on the desk and said, all right, work with this. I'm out. Goodbye. And it was kind of a mutual problem. That's really what it was. Both sides were definitely at fault. I would actually say Bungie was more at fault for, you know, not really consulting with him and just kind of being like, give us a final product and we'll see what we think, and we don't like it. I mean, those are the criticisms you can absolutely make on Bungie's behalf. But you know, no matter what you think, it definitely comes down to the fact that there wasn't much of a story to go on by the time they really got around to kind of piecing it all together, which is a shame. It really is. So that's why the story kind of is the way it is. There is a very key plot thread here in the first basically what is the vanilla section of Destiny that honestly has been completely, well, not completely retconned necessarily, but is being completely dropped in future in the Destiny universe. And it just kind of goes to show what happened to this game and what it kind of became and why it was kind of so broken for so long. And again, we'll get into more as we go along, but that is why the vanilla story is going to be very barren, but there is still a lot of lore behind it. Plenty of lore, in fact, oodles of lore that I cannot wait to share with you guys as we play. So, that is it for the second mission, Restoration. We also explored the tower in this video, which was great, and I hope you all enjoyed that. In the next video, we are going to be starting a mission known as the War Mind, which is going to get into, well, a lot more of the lore aspects of Destiny that we really haven't been able to talk about thus far. But, almost level 4, which is pretty cool. And I got a pulse rifle. Awesome. It is a little bit more powerful than my scout rifle, so I am going to equip it. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it for this episode of Let's Play Destiny. I hope you all enjoyed it very much, and I will see you all in the next one.